Welcome back to another new section of our Fundamentals of Cybersecurity course. In this section, we'll be discussing different types of hackers, then viruses, trojans, malwares, hacking organizations which are currently running in the world. Then we are going to see about different types of cyber attacks which are common. Also, we'll see some shocking facts and security services, security mechanisms, and which are the types of threats you can face in security. Then also we are going to discuss about one of the most hot topic, which is ransomware attacks. Cybersecurity is currently dealing with many types of ransomware attacks throughout the world. So stay tuned and let us begin with our first.
In this video, I am going to cover the types of actors in cybersecurity. Over the past few years, cybersecurity has made its way onto every organization's radar. Hardly a week goes by without another high profile breach. And with every new headline, cybersecurity budgets across the globe are growing even larger. But unfortunately, simply spending more money isn't enough. To avoid the cost and embarrassment of data breach, you will need to understand the types of actors in cybersecurity. Well, starting with the hacker. Well, the term hacking refers to activities that seek to compromise digital devices such as computers, smartphones, tablets, and even entire networks. And while hacking might not always be for malicious purposes, nowadays most references to hacking and hackers characterize them as unlawful activity by cyber criminals motivated by financial gain, protest, information gathering, and even just for fun. Hackers are artists, computer addicts, challenge seekers, creators, and sometimes for good, destroyers. All the online transactions like bill payment and all that stuffs are possible because of them. The media has mixed up the word hackers with crackers. Crackers are the one who do that nuisance. They basically have lack of knowledge in the field, and to present themselves as a hacker to the world, they crack onto computer systems. Hackers are the smartest guys in the field of computer. They have more knowledge and information than those who develop a software system. Hackers are visionaries who could see new ways to use computers, creating programs that no one else could conceive. Hackers are the pioneers of computer industry, building everything from small applications to operating systems. Well, this is a fact. If something is made by human brain, it can be hacked by human brain. Hacking is typically technical in nature, like creating malvertising that deposits malware in a drive by attacking users' interaction. But hackers can also use psychology to trick the user into clicking onto a malicious attachment or providing personal data. These tactics are referred to as social engineering. Well, time is the key. Next is cyber terrorist. Cyber terrorism is the use of internet based attacks in terrorist activities, including acts of deliberate, large scale disruption of computer networks, especially of personal computers attached to the internet, by the means of tools such as computer viruses. Cyber terrorism is itself a controversial term. Some authors choose a very narrow definition relating to deployments by known terrorist organizations of disruption of attacks, creating alarm and panic. By this narrow definition, it is difficult to identify any instances of cyber terrorism. The term was first coined in 1994. It differs from traditional terrorism because of its ability to gain leverage from a person, group, or government computer. Nevertheless, just as a traditional terrorism, cyber terrorism causes death, loss of property, and terror in people's minds. Cyber terrorism also involves worldwide economic chaos and environmental damage by hacking critical systems. Cyberterrorism is the convergence of cyberspace and terrorism. It refers to unlawful attacks or threats against computers, computer networks, and the information stored therein when done to intimidate or coerce a government or its people in the further that is, political action or social objectives. Well, some of the areas of cyber terrorism that are targeted are phishing, water holing hole, ransomware, and scanning. What is a watering hole? Watering hole is basically a deployment of fake web page to compromise the original in order to attack visiting users, like downloading of remote access tools. The next is hacktivism, derived from combining the words hack and activism. Hacktivism is the act of hacking or breaking into a computer system for politically or socially motivated purposes. The individuals who perform an act of hacktivism is said to be a hacktivist. Logically, I can say that hacktivism may be described as the following groups of uncultured members who are born to make the environment unclean and who are capable of feeling the fear in the heart of innocent humanity. Common targets for hacktivists include government agencies, multinational corporations, or any other entity perceived as bad or wrong by hacktivist groups or individuals. Of course, gaining unauthorized access to any organization's assets through such activities is a criminal act, no matter what the intention might be. Primarily, activism is sparked by an individual's or group's perception of what they consider to be wrong or unjust and hence incentives them to do something about it. Motivations include revenge, political or social intensives, ideology, protest, a desire to embrace certain organizations or individuals within those organizations, or sometimes sheer vandalism. In general, hacker groups aim to question, provoke, and challenge governments, organizations, and companies who go against their moral position. With roots in hacker culture and hacker ethics, its ends are often related to free speech, human rights, or freedom of information movements. Next is state-sponsored attacks. There is a global chess match between nation states, businesses, and various digital assets contained within these organizations. The result is that state-sponsored cyber attacks. The state-sponsored cyber attacks have emerged as one of the preeminent threats against targeting companies today. Backed by governments and funded with the biggest bankrolls, state-sponsored groups can apply seemingly limitless resources to achieve their malicious objectives in an age when security companies are strapped by tight budgets and a cybersecurity talent shortage. Out of 94 cases of cyber attacks reported as financial crimes since 2007, the attackers behind 23 of them were believed to be state-sponsored, the majority coming from countries like Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. State-affiliated or sponsored actors often have particular objectives aligned with either the political, commercial, or military interest of the country of origin. Wherever possible, state-sponsored attacks will be used standard attack methodologies used by other typical cybercrime actors and penetration testers. They do so because they work incredibly effectively and are so generic they can't be attributed to any particular group. These usually involve targeted phishing emails followed by use of recent, known exploits the victim may not have been aware of. When they have foothold, actors often move laterally into shared servers and other systems where they can steal privileged credentials. From there they rarely use much malware. They mostly stick to using administrator tools like normal system administrators. Well, the state-sponsored actors will rarely make a lot of noise to cause sufficient disruption to warrant suspicion or trigger detection. Their objectives are to remain persistent to retain oversight of communications or access to sensitive data. The last one are script kiddies. Script kiddie generally describes probably the lowest level of hacking or hackers. These hackers don't create or develop hacking tools or methods themselves. They generally copy tools and methods from books or in the internet. As far as I know, the name script kiddie comes from the idea of younger people who don't know how to code or program, therefore copying scripts that other people have already made and try to hack with them. For example, imagine a child gets their first computer. The child watches a movie about hacking and then downloads a copy of Kali Linux. They begin playing with various programs while searching for online tutorials. The most serious threat a script kiddie possesses is the use of social engineering. A script kiddie lacks the knowledge to create software or exploit vulnerabilities. To compensate, they often turn to social engineering in order to manipulate victims into granting access or sharing information. Ethical hacking is not the same thing as script kiddie. Script kiddies are essentially just people who think they can hack and only know a very small amount of information.
In this video, we are going to see the different types of cyber attacks. So before moving on to cyber attacks, let us define what is a cyber attack. Basically, cyber attack is assault launched on a particular company or organization or a system to gain some benefit out of it. Broadly classifying the types of cyber attacks, the main motives of any cyber attack is to demean someone or to gain financial gain or to get privileges over a system. We have seen the common motives behind any cyber attack in the last module. So the first type of cyber attack that we are going to see is operating system attacks. Now in this type of attack, the attackers search for vulnerabilities in an operating system design, like the patches that the developers provide, or any updates or any software which are inbuilt in the system. For example, Microsoft Windows provides update each and every month for the users. Now, if there is any vulnerability in those attacks and if that is not yet discovered, attackers can use that flaw to gain benefit out of their attack. So these attacks which are mainly focused on the operating systems are known as operating system attacks. The next type is misconfiguration attack. In a misconfiguration attack, whenever we install a new app or a new software, most of the time we do not configure the system properly. We leave it to default passwords, we randomly accept any agreements, and it can lead to critical flaws due to us only. So these type of attacks can affect web servers, application platforms, databases, networks, or frameworks that may result into privilege escalation. The next type of attack is application level attack. Application level attacks are most common these days. The flaws are identified in the applications itself, which are deployed over the internet, and these type of attacks are a common prey to the users, like SQL injection, man in the middle, session hijacking, denial of service. Then privilege escalation also used in application level attacks. So basically, the applications that we download over the internet may contain some flaws in them. The next is shrink wrap code attacks, in which the attackers exploit a code and configure the device as they want using the shell, which means shell is a special type of language basically used in Linux. The next is scripting attacks, which is the most common vulnerability is cross-site scripting. It is one of the top 10 vulnerabilities in the OWASP list. Then cross-site scripting is a type of injection in which malicious scripts are injected into trusted websites. So for example, if there is a search box and that search, you enter an input into the search box. But if an attacker tries to inject in a script, a JavaScript into the search box saying that you have been affected, then that web server, if that web server accepts the input as a code and then executes it, then it is a prey to a scripting attack. So such type of flaws also result in loss of information, and they are basically a great source of getting financial money, ransomware attacks basically. So these are the major types of attacks, and in the next videos we are going to see the major type of threats which the companies face. So in the next video you will see what are the types of hacking organizations which are famous in today's life, which are silently carrying out cyber attacks.
Hacking groups are becoming more and more commonplace. With the rise of computers and ever-changing technology, hackers have become a strong presence in modern society. The very first hackers emerged from MIT in 1969, but back then their main goal was to improve the software and hardware they were working with. Since then, hackers have evolved and become more malicious. From hacking major companies to stealing millions of dollars and revealing government secrets, hackers are now a major part of modern society. Here's a look at most notorious hacking groups of all time and what they have done. The first one is the Anonymous. This is probably the most recognizable hacking group on our list. Known for wearing Guy Fawkes masks, the Anonymous group has been behind one of the largest attacks of 2000s. The group emerged in early 2000s and are some of the most well-known hacktivists to date. Anonymous has been involved with a large number of hacks, including the Church of Scientology, the Occupy Wall Street movement, the Canadian government, the Westboro Baptist Church, ISIS, and many more. Most of the people think Anonymous is a Robin Hood type of group, which is helping to a better the world. What has made the group successful is that it is largely decentralized. Members do not know identity of each other. Anonymous has been responsible for 45% of all hacks in the last 4 years. However, the group now seems to be defunct or at least very quiet. The next one is the Equation Group. If this name doesn't sound familiar, you would have probably heard of the organization, the National Security Agency. Kaspersky first announced its discovery of the Equation Group in 2015, lauding it as the most advanced hacking group it had seen up to date. The Equation Group came to light because its members made a number of errors over the years. Given that group was mostly targeting countries and governments considered to be the enemies of United States, and that the group seemed to have an unlimited budget, suspicions arose that Equation Group had tied with the government. While it has been never confirmed that this hacking group is working under the NSA, there is a strong evidence that it is probably. Obviously, the NSA isn't going to confirm this connection. Very little is known about the Equation Group, and they likely intend to keep it that way. The next one is Fancy Bear. While the name may not sound cute, this hacking group certainly is not. Fancy Bear is a Russian hacking group that is firmly believed to be working under the Russian government. They tend to target foreign governments, embassies, media companies, defense organizations, energy companies, and even the Olympic Games. The hacking group got its start in 2008 when it targeted the Georgian government and has been doing since ever then. Fancy Bear was allegedly responsible for the Democratic National Convention hack prior to the last presidential elections in the United States. They have also been responsible for recent attacks on the German parliament and tried to influence the French elections in 2017. The group's members remain largely unknown and they show no sign of stopping. The next one is the Lazarus Group. The Lazarus Group is run by the North Korean government. The hacking group seems to have started in 2009 and mostly uses malware in its attack. This hacking group hacked Sony Pictures in retaliation for the movie. WannaCry, a ransomware software that requires users to pay, this Lazarus Group has created this WannaCry. The Lazarus Group has also had a large amount of success with cryptocurrency. The next one is Syrian Electronic Army. The Syrian Electronic Army emerged in 2011 as a pro-Assad group of hackers. It is widely believed that the group has government ties, and Assad has publicly stated his support of the hacking group. Assad is the president of Syria. The hackers have primarily focused on targeting US media outlets and social media pages. Their most notorious attack was when they hacked the Associated Press Twitter account, claiming that White House was under attack and that President Barack Obama had been injured.
In this video, you will learn to describe what are security services. You will get a brief idea of what a security service is. So let us begin with these security services. So according to X800, a security service, is a service provided by the layer of communicating open systems which ensures adequate security of the systems or of data transfers. So basically, a security service is a kind of mechanism provided by the communication systems in order to prevent the three elements of the cryptography which we have seen, that is confidentiality, integrity and availability. Services are brought into picture to protect systems, right? Yes, in order to protect the systems you need services, and in order to implement those services you need mechanisms. So why do we need security services? So basically security is a key aspect of any organization, and to enhance the security of our organization we need to implement them. So that is why we need security services, specific policies designed in order to execute the security, then to prevent damages of data processing from cyber attacks, which is very common. So according to William Stallings, security services are broadly classified into five types: confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation and access control. So we are going to see each and every five of these services in detail in the next module, where we have explained what is meant by confidentiality, what is meant by integrity, types of integrity, then availability, non-repudiation and access control. We have seen confidentiality, integrity and availability attacks. Remember that Bob, Alice and Trudy, where Bob or Trudy was modifying the message which was being sent to Alice. Now that is a kind of attack on integrity. The contents are modified. Then denial of service attack is an attack on availability. The message is not getting sent to the authorized receiver, intended receiver. And confidentiality is basically Trudy knows what Alice and Bob are talking. Non-repudiation and access control we are surely going to see in upcoming videos. So basically security mechanisms are a combination of hardware and software processes. They help in implementing policies, they help in enhancing the security. The security mechanism is a process by which we implement security. For example, cryptography, hashing, data integrity, then security audits, response team, risk management, etc. So now an interesting topic is coming up. In the next videos we will see the different types of threats which are popularly known in the field of cyber security. So stay tuned, and I would like to request you that you should probably rate our course, because your input is our primary goal. We can accordingly change videos, we can accordingly manage the content, and if you're liking, please leave an honest review. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. In this video, we are going to learn about threats, their types, and what are the major ways in which your computer or your network can get affected with a threat. So basically, the main aim of any threat or any attack is destruction of information or other valuable resource, then corruption or modification of the information, theft, removal or loss of information, which means they take the information, they collect data and they just delete it. Then interruption of security services. For example, if in your company there is some process going on and there is a DDoS attack, so that is interruption between your security services. And then finally is disclosure of information. Generally, ransomware attacks are a great example of destruction or theft of information, where attackers modify the information, or they can take the information for financial purpose and ask for a ransom in return. So there are four types of threats, or four categories, which we can call as active threats, intentional threats, accidental threats and passive threats. Active threats are the threats which are ongoing in your organization or which can cause a serious damage to your system. For example, modification of information, then attack on your security services, checking the integrity of your devices, etc. Intentional threats are the threats which have a motive behind them. We have seen the attack motives such as financial gain, or to demean someone, to take data, to dispose data, to disclose their identity for in some ransom. Then accidental threat is an example where there is no intention of any causing harm, but due to some errors or due to some misconfigurations these threats have occurred. For example, system configuration. When new softwares are installed, generally the system administrators leave the configuration to default passwords and usernames. This can result into serious loss of data. The last one is the passive threats, which is an example of information disclosure. Suppose an attacker is an attacker is observing your company for theft. So if by some chance if he discloses that information to a third party, by traffic analysis or information disclosure, then that can be considered as a passive threat. But yes, that is a threat. So you should be aware of how your computers get infected due to these threats and what are the categories of these threats. So if anyone asks you and gives a scenario of a threat, you should be able to properly tell that it belongs to which category. In the next lecture, we will see the types of threats. The first one that we are going to see is malware. What are malwares? How PCs get infected due to malware and some information about them. See you in the Welcome to a brand new section of malware threats. In this lecture, we will learn to describe what is a malware, different ways a malware can get into a system, common techniques to deploy a malware, and components of malware. So, let's get started. What is a malware? Malware is a software intentionally designed to cause damage to a computer, server, client, or in short, to harm a system. Malware is a malicious software that damages or disables computer systems and gives limited or full control of the systems. You might have heard of the term cyber attacks on networks, devices, or computers. These attacks are carried out by deploying malwares on these systems. The main intention of malware is to gain credentials, information, data breaches, and obviously money. Malware is a malicious software, including any software that acts in the interest of the user. Malware can affect not only the infected computers, but potentially any other device the infected device can communicate with. So, malware forms a kind of chain. Whenever you deploy a malware, it may affect other devices which are not directly affected by malwares. A few examples of malwares can be trojans, viruses, worms, spywares, botnets, adwares, rootkits, and many more. We are going to talk about viruses, worms, trojans in our upcoming lectures. So how can your system get affected because of a malware? Insecure patch management, what does that mean? Whenever your system downloads updates or patches for softwares, the website from which the softwares are being downloaded, if the website is infectious or it is attacked by an attacker, instead of downloading a patch, it can download a malware. Then network propagations, like I said, it forms a chain. If one computer is infected, it can potentially infect other computers on the same network. Email attachments. Nowadays you have always heard about the word phishing attacks, which are mostly carried out because of emails, spam emails. Suppose an attacker sends you an email saying, here's the opportunity to get $1,000, download this software and win $1,000. A normal person would surely go for that software, execute the file, and he may get some advertisement or something or any other thing. But at the back end, that software may install a backdoor, which in turn is a malware and can potentially harm your system. Decoy applications like trojans, for example, if the website says download a cleaner for your app which can clean your PC, which can make your PC fast, run like a supercomputer, but who knows, it can be a malware. Portable hardware media, for example, if an attacker has a way to insert a USB drive to your PC, he can harm your PC by that USB drive. instant messenger applications. These applications have also proved to be potentially harmful. So, how do attackers deploy malwares? Black hat search engine optimization. Whenever you search anything on the internet, the results that appears on the screens and you click on those links and they lead you to somewhere, and by mistake a pop-up appears and you try to close that pop-up and something gets downloaded. Well, that is black hat search engine optimization, which means suppose if you are searching for, let's say, a software which you want as a free of cost. So attacker can analyze the results of search engines and try to guess which victim is searching the word maximum times, and he can send a malicious link to that software and you may end up downloading a malware. Then social engineering clickjacking. Attackers and hackers who are pretty intelligent have a decent skill of social engineering, which we will be learning, which is an art of humans to tell them to reveal them their identity, their passwords. Then drive-by downloads from unnecessary websites, non-trusted websites. Spam emails, again I told you that spam emails are one of the most highest rated types of deployment malwares, where people end up you downloading some files. Now you would ask the question, but Gmail is secure. Yes, even if Gmail is secure, the Gmail application doesn't literally scan through the websites or emails or files an attacker can send. It doesn't have that much of time to scan lakhs and 10 millions and thousands of emails which are sent every day. So educating people about phishing attacks is very important. What are the components of malware? Well, cryptor, downloader, dropper, exploit, injector, obfuscator, packer, payload, and malicious code. Components of a malware software relies on the requirements of the malware author who designs it for a specific target to perform the intended task. So component may depend upon what task is supposed to be executed. The first thing is cryptor. Cryptor is a software that protects malware from undergoing reverse engineering or analysis, thus making the task of security mechanism harder in its detection. Downloader. Downloader, a type of Trojan that downloads other malware from the internet onto the PC. Usually, attackers install downloader software when they first gain access to a system. Dropper. Dropper is a type of Trojan that installs other malware files onto the system, either from the malware package or from the internet. Exploit. We have heard about the term exploit in the security terms. Let's have a quick revision here. Exploit is a malicious code that breaches the system security via software vulnerabilities to access information or install malware. Injector. A program that injects its code into other vulnerable running processes and changes the way of execution in order to hide or prevent its removal. Obfuscator. It is a program that conceals its code and intended purpose via various techniques and thus makes it really hard for security mechanisms to remove the software from the PC. Payload. We have also seen payload. Let's have a quick revision. A payload is a piece of software that allows control over a computer system after it has been exploited. And finally, a malicious code. A malicious code is a command that defines malware's basic functionalities, such as stealing data and creating backdoors. So these are the components of malware that are commonly present in every malware. In the next lecture, we will actually see one of the types of malware, that is a Trojan. Let us continue our section with Trojan. In this lecture, we will learn what is a Trojan, how hackers use Trojan, and the common ways of infecting systems with Trojan. What is a Trojan? Trojan is a program in which the malicious code is contained inside apparently a harmless programming or data in such a way that it can get control and cause damage, such as running the file allocation system into crash on a hard disk. Now, where this word Trojan came from? There's a Greek story in which the army of one state or one ruler entered into the state or province of another king via a Trojan horse. Now there was only a horse and the army was hidden inside the horse. So in this way, this program or this piece of software is termed as Trojan because the malicious code is actually hidden inside a legitimate code. So for example, if you download a software version from any website for free, but that software version is paid on legal websites like Amazon, Flipkart, but you are interested in trying the free software because anyways you are getting it for free. So you download it, you run it, you give it permissions, and after a few days you see that your computer is working very slow, your resources are taking time to load. So you scan your PC and you observe that your PC has been infected with malware. So how do you find out that? Since you downloaded the free version from a random website, the person who has uploaded that version or software onto the website may have inserted a malicious code behind a legal software. So a common person like we people, or the people who do not have a much idea or who are fooled by the idea of getting a paid software for free, they might not recognize it. And that is why downloading softwares from untrusted websites is one of the main reasons why these Trojans get executed very efficiently. So Trojans get activated upon users' certain predefined action and upon activation. So as I told you, if you download a software from a free website, now you click the software as run and you give the permissions to store the software details and data, which in turn means that you have given indirect permissions to the Trojan itself. And that is why they get activated only upon user actions. Indications of a Trojan attack include abnormal system and network activities such as disabling of antivirus, redirection to unknown pages, frequent pop-ups, low resource loading, and many more. Trojans create a covert communication channel between the victim computer and the attacker for transferring sensitive data. So, through a Trojan, the attacker can get your sensitive data. So, in short, a Trojan acts like a bona fide application or a file which can easily trick you. So, once the program is installed, a Trojan can perform the action it was designed for. The next question is, how can hackers use Trojan? Well, Trojans can delete or replace the system files. They can infect your system as a proxy server. They can use your system as a proxy server. Then they can use the victim's PC for illegal purposes. Now once they have access of your PC, they can perform any actions through your PC without revealing their own identity. Well, they can record screenshots, audios and videos. I remember one attacker group had claimed of releasing the videos and recordings of the US President Mr. Donald Trump. So there might be a chance that the White House computer had faced a cyber attack. Then Trojans can also be used to disable antivirus and firewalls. they can also download malicious software. Well, have you even come across a pop-up on your screen saying that there is an update for your PC? Please download this software. Whenever you visit a random website, it gives a pop-up. Please download this software to update your Chrome. Have you ever received that pop-up? Well, as a security expert, I would like to tell you that please do not go to those links and please do not click, because just by clicking those links you give permissions to that software to get downloaded. So always download softwares from the legitimate sources, and if your friend or even if you download it from a non-legitimate source, before installing the software, make sure that you check the hashes of the software. Now, how to check the hashes? We are going to see that in the cryptography practicals. The next question is how to create a Trojan, or how attackers create a Trojan. Well, the answer is very easy. You have the process in front of you. The first step is to create a new Trojan packet using a Trojan horse construction kit, or there are examples of many softwares which are readily available over the internet to create a Trojan. Step 2. Then you have to create a dropper. Now, what is a dropper? A dropper is a part in the Trojanized packet that installs the malicious code on the target system. So basically, a dropper is a program that hides malicious code inside it. The next step is to create a wrapper or a wrapper using wrapper tools to install Trojan on the victim's computer. Then you have to propagate the Trojan, that is, send the Trojan to the victim via emails, via social engineering. We have seen how hackers deploy these skills. Then the fifth step is to execute the dropper, that is to install the legitimate code. And the last step is to execute the damage routine, that is, after installing the main program, attacker can install the Trojan. So, in the next lecture, we will see different types of Trojan that are presently ruining victims and computers. So the next lecture would really help you to understand the Trojans, and it may also help you to self-assess your computers. So make sure you do not skip any of these lectures. In the last lecture, we saw what are Trojans, and we have a brief introduction about Trojans. In this lecture, we will see different types of Trojans and how these Trojans work. So, before moving ahead with the types of Trojans, let us first see an example of how a Trojan can affect a system. So, the first step is an attacker sends an email to a victim containing link to the Trojan server. The victim clicks the link and immediately connects to the Trojan server in XYZ country. Then the Trojan is sent to the victim from the server. Victim installs the Trojan, infecting his machine. And finally, attacker connects to the victim's machine because the user himself or herself has given permission. That is why security experts always tell you to pay the price for legitimate softwares rather than just downloading it for free. The first Trojan is the remote access Trojan, which is a very common Trojan these days, and you might have heard of this term often. What is a remote access Trojan? A remote access Trojan works like a remote desktop access. Hacker gains complete GUI access to the remote system. Consider an example. Jason, the attacker, infects Alice's computer with server.exe file and plants a reverse connecting Trojan. The Trojan connects the port 80 to the attacker in Russia, establishing a reverse connection. Therefore, Jason, the attacker, has complete control over Rebecca's machine. A common example of a remote access Trojan is NJRAT. NJRAT is a remote access Trojan that can download and execute additional malware, execute shell commands, read and write registry keys, capture screenshots, lock keystrokes, spy on webcams, and many more. Other examples of RAT include MO-Sucker, ProRat, Thief, LSM-DOE, KDRat, PCRat or Ghost, NetWire, JavaRat, and many more. There are specific tools to create a remote access Trojan, and as you can see on the screen, the attacker has hacked the server and then connected to the infected PCs. Other Trojans are backdoor Trojans. What is a backdoor Trojan? A backdoor is a program which bypasses the system's customary security mechanisms to gain access to a restricted area of a computer system. Backdoors are used by the attacker to have uninterrupted access to the target machine. A great example of a backdoor Trojan is Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy gives the attacker practically complete control over the infected computer. Once the backdoor is executed, it copies itself to the either Windows folder or the Windows System 32 folder. The next type of Trojan that we are going to see is rootkit Trojan. Right. Rootkit Trojans are considered as powerful backdoors that specifically attack the root, that is the operating system. Compared to the other backdoors, rootkit cannot be detected by observing services, system task list, or registries. Rootkits consist of three components: a dropper, a loader, and a rootkit itself. Examples of rootkits are Whistler, CPD, Greyfish, Wingbird, etc. If you really have interest, you can go over the Google and search these types of rootkits. The next Trojan is a botnet Trojan. A botnet Trojans infect a large number of computers across a large geographical area to create a network of bots that is controlled through a command line and command server, that is CNC center. Basically, botnet is used to launch various attacks on a victim, including denial of service attacks, email spamming, click fraud, and the theft of financial information. The next Trojan is very interesting. It is very common these days. That is the e-banking Trojan. E-banking Trojans, as the name suggests, intercept a victim's account information before it is encrypted and sends it to the attacker's Trojan command and control center. It steals victims' data such as credit card, CVV number, billing details, account number, bank details, passwords, email, etc. Then how a e-banking Trojan works? Well, they can work through grabbers, form grabber which collects the data, HTML injection, and covert credential grab. So this is how e-banking Trojan can work. The next type of Trojan that we are going to see is a proxy server Trojan. Well, as the name suggests, Trojan proxy is usually a standalone application that allows remote attackers to use the victim's computer as a proxy to connect to the internet. Let us consider Bob has attacked Alice's computer via Trojan and has placed a proxy. So, to do any illegal activities, Bob accesses the internet via Alice's computer, telling the internet that Alice is doing commands on behalf of on behalf of Bob, so that Bob's real identity is hidden. The next type of Trojan is a defacement Trojan. Defacement Trojan allow a user to view, edit, extract and replace strings, bitmap, logos and icons from any Windows program. They allow attackers to view and edit almost any aspect of a compiled Windows program. All these Trojans are very destructive in nature. There are other Trojans like mobile Trojan, Internet of Things Trojan, destructive Trojans, hacking Trojans, and many more. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about one of the most commonly discussed topics around the globe, that is viruses. Anything happens on your computer, if you ask your parents or your relatives, or even your friends, the common answer is virus. Well, let's explore virus. Well, as the name suggests, let us start learning viruses. Anything that happens to a computer which results into some abnormal behavior, the common man concludes by saying that it's a virus. Well, if you ask your friend that, or even if you tell your friend that my PC is running slow, there are unusual pop-ups on the screen, he or she, without having a knowledge of cybersecurity, all these threads will reply virus. The media has turned this term into a they have just exaggerated virus, and people who do not even know what a virus means have started using the term as a commonplace. So, in this lecture, we will actually see what is a virus, we will see the stages of virus, then we will see how these viruses exactly work and they harm systems. Then we will see how does a computer get infected by viruses, what are the ways a virus can enter into the system. So, let's get started. What is a virus? A virus is a self-replicating program. Make sure that virus is a self-replicating program that produces itself to another program, computer boot sector, or a document. So, the characteristics of viruses are: it infects other programs, it transforms itself, that is, it is a self-replicating program, it alters data, it corrupts files and programs. Viruses are generally transmitted through the downloads, infected disks, flash drives, and again, emails. So, what can be the purposes of creating viruses? Well, viruses are created to inflict damage to competitors. For example, if Amazon and Flipkart are two leading service providing companies, and if, let's say, Flipkart's sale is going on, people are choosing more Flipkart products, an Amazon company may deliver a virus over Flipkart for temporarily disabling the website so that users have no other option than turning to Amazon. The next is financial benefits. Ransomware attacks are the most important point here. Attackers place a virus, they encrypt data, and ask for ransom in order to decrypt the data. If the victim doesn't give money or ransom, what they call to the attacker, then the attacker might end up deleting the data. The next purpose of creating virus is vandalism, that is just to deface someone. Then viruses can also be used to play a prank. For example, Bob is a cool guy and now he knows how to create a virus because of the readily available virus tools. He just creates a virus and then sends it to his friend. It's just a prank, but again that prank may result in some harmful actions onto the PC. Then cyber terrorism, like there are many cyber hacking organizations which are using viruses to destroy healthcare systems, financial institutions, education institutions, and many more. Then distribute political messages. damage network or computers and gain remote access of the victim's computer. What are the stages of a virus life? The first one is the design. Developing the virus code using programming languages or construction kits. And that is why, because of these readily available construction kits, anyone on the internet, even you, can create a virus. The next is replication. Virus replicates itself for a period of time within the target system and then spreads itself. Third is the launch. It gets activated with the user performing certain actions such as running and infected programs. The fourth stage is the detection phase. Here, a virus is identified as a threat infecting target systems. Fifth is the incorporation. Antivirus software developers assimilate defenses against the virus. And the last one is execute the damage routine. Users install virus updates, antivirus updates, and eliminate the virus threats. What is the working of virus? The working of virus takes place in two phases: infection phase and the attack phase. Right. Viruses do not directly attack the system. First is they infect the systems. Normally, a virus infects a person. Let's say after an incubation period for the computer virus, it starts attacking the system. So what happens in the infection phase? In the infection phase, the virus replicates itself and attaches to an .exe file in the system, which is an executable file. So every time the victim executes the .exe file, the virus file also gets executed. Attack phase. Viruses are programmed with trigger events to activate and corrupt systems. Trigger event means whenever the victim clicks or does something, then it will trigger the virus to do something to its action. Some viruses infect each time they are run, and others infect only when a certain predefined condition is met, such as a user's specific task, a day, a time, or a particular event. In the next lecture, we will see the indications of virus attacks, like how can you know that your PC has been attacked by a virus, and then we also see what are the ways in which a computer can get infected by viruses. In the last lecture, we saw the virus, the working of virus. So, now once you know how a virus performs, in this lecture, we will see the different types of viruses. But before that, we will see the indications of virus attacks. So, what are the indications of a virus attack? Well, computer beeps with no display, then drive label automatically changes, or the most common is a constant pop-up window appears on your screen. Well, if the system acts in an unprecedented manner, you can suspect a virus attack. However, not all glitches can be attributed to virus attacks due to misconfigurations or the hardware failure when the system can act abnormally. But that does not mean that every abnormal behavior type is a virus. Well, suspicious hard drive activity or freezing of browser window suddenly can also be an indication of a virus attack. As a security expert, you must be able to tell why this is causing a virus attack. What are the indications of a virus attack? Suppose a victim comes to you and tells you that this is happening. You should be able to identify which attack is going on, which type of virus has been affected that victim's computer. Lack of storage space can also be an indication of virus attack. Since the virus replicates itself It eats up a lot of space on your hard drive. How does a computer gets infected by virus? What is the type of the propagation of a virus? When when a user accepts files and downloads without checking properly from the source. Security experts always tell you to check the hashes or download the files only from the legitimate source. Then, opening infected email attachments, that is phishing, or installing pirated softwares is one of the most important way of propagating a virus. Never download pirated softwares. Security experts always tell the novice learners that it is always better to pay the price for the software rather than paying thousands of dollars to recover the data. Then not updating and not installing new versions of plugins, using portable medias, clicking malicious online ads, connecting to untrusted networks are some of the ways in which a computer can get infected by viruses. Now, let us see one by one what are the types of viruses. Make sure you closely listen to this video because as a certified professional or as a cybersecurity enthusiast, you must be able to tell the difference between two viruses. Because if anyone comes at you telling the cause or what is happening, you can't just simply say that it's a virus. You have to be specific. Such questions are asked during interviews because clearing these fundamentals is more important than running the tools. Anyone can run the tools, but it is more important to know the concepts behind these tools. So, let us start with the first type of virus, that is system and file virus. Boot sector virus moves MBR, that is master boot record, to another location on the hard drive and copies itself to the original location of the master boot record. This is known as the system or the boot sector virus. So what it does is this virus copies the MBR to some random location, and MBR location is very important for a system. And what this virus does is that this virus copies itself into the main boot location so that it gets replicate itself. This is the main function of a boot sector virus. The next is the file virus. File viruses infect files which are executed or interpreted in the system, such as COM, EXE, SIS, OVL, OBJ, MNU, and BAT files. File viruses can either be direct action or memory resident. The next type is the multipartite and macro viruses. Multipartite viruses infect the system boot sector and executable files at the same time. So, see how destructible viruses are. Macro viruses infect the files created by Microsoft Word or Excel. So, whenever an Excel file is corrupt, or if you observe that Excel file is behaving abnormally, you can guess that it may be a macro virus. Most macro viruses are written using macro language, that is Visual Basic for Applications, VBA. Macro viruses infect templates or convert infected documents into template files while maintaining the appearance of ordinary document files. The next is cluster and stealth viruses. Cluster viruses modify directory table entries so that it points users or system processes to the virus code instead of the actual program. Cluster viruses will launch itself first when any program in the computer system is started. Stealth virus, or also known as tunneling virus. Tunneling viruses evade the antivirus software by intercepting its request to the operating system. This virus can hide itself by intercepting the antivirus software's request to read the file and passing the request to the virus instead of the operating system. The next is the encryption virus. This type of virus uses simple encryption to encipher the code. The virus is encrypted with a different key for each infected file. Polymorphic virus. A polymorphic code is a code that mutates while keeping the original algorithm intact. So, a well-written polymorphic virus therefore has no parts that stay the same on the same infection. So you can see this virus gets replicated over and over the time. So you can see how dangerous it is. The next is metamorphic virus. I haven't listed the metamorphic viruses, but I would like to give a short description. Metamorphic viruses rewrite themselves completely each time they are to infect a new executable. So, from the description itself, these viruses are dangerous. Email viruses are the types of viruses which are commonly found into email attachments that infect PCs. File extension viruses are the viruses which are inside a file extension. For example, there is a file known as file.php.txt. The original file is a PHP file, but it is hidden inside a .txt file. So, this is how these viruses play an important role, and as a security student, you must be able to distinguish between these viruses. If you have interest, we have provided some links so that you can go through those links, or even you can go on Google and search for the types of viruses. What are the virus detection methods? Now, in order to identify which virus has been affected the system, it is important to detect those viruses. There are 5 steps in detecting a virus. The first is scanning. Once a virus has been detected, it is possible to write scanning programs that look for signature string characteristics of the virus. The next is integrity checking. Integrity checking products work by reading the entire disk and recording integrity data that acts as a signature. Next is interception. The interceptor monitors the operating system requests that are written to the disk. Code execution or code emulation. In code emulation techniques, the antivirus executes the malicious code inside a virtual machine to simulate the CPU and memory activities. Therefore, from this, the antivirus software or the company who has launched the antivirus can get an idea of how a virus works. Basically, a reverse engineering task. Then last one is heuristic analysis. Heuristic analysis can be static or dynamic. In static analysis, the antivirus analyzes the file format and code structure to determine if the code is viral. In the next lecture, which is going to be the last lecture of malware threats, we will see how to defend against these attacks. Well, let us conclude this section by learning the countermeasures. It is important to learn how to mitigate cyber attacks by learning the countermeasures. So, in this lecture, we will see how to countermeasures Trojan attacks and how we can prevent backdoors, like how we can stop an attacker from installing a backdoor, and then virus and worms countermeasures. If you know the worm and the virus difference, the only difference is that worms are not self-replicating, whereas viruses are self-replicating. So, without wasting much time, let us start. Trojan countermeasures. So, avoid opening email attachments received from unknown senders. Then, block unnecessary ports at the host and the firewall. Avoid accepting programs transferred by instant messaging applications. Harden weak default configuration settings and disable unused functionality. What I said just a few seconds ago is known as security misconfiguration. This happens a lot of time. Generally, the administrator who has installed softwares forgets it to configure it properly. He or she ignores the fact that, I am the administrator and no one would have password and all those things, but attackers are one step ahead than the security professionals. They always find a way to breach into the system. So, and security professional or security expert should know each and every step of how an attacker can think to enter into your PC. So that is why they always say security architects or security officers or professionals always need to think from the perspective of an hacker. Then the next step is to monitor the internal network traffic for odd ports or encrypted traffic. Then avoid downloading and executing applications from untrusted sources. I have been telling this since the start of the lecture, I know, but it's really important that you download it from the official vendors. Then install patches and security updates for the operating systems and applications. Scan external USB devices and DVDs with antivirus softwares before using. Then restrict permissions within the desktop environment to prevent malicious applications from being installed. And run host-based antivirus firewalls and IDS IPS. How we can prevent hackers from placing backdoors? The most commercial antivirus products can automatically scan and detect backdoor programs before they can cause damage. So it is important that you install commercial programs. Then you have to educate users not to install applications downloaded from untrusted internet sites and email attachments. Avoid untrusted softwares and ensure that every device is protected by a firewall. Use antivirus tools such as McAfee, Norton, etc. to detect and eliminate backdoors. I would like to tell you that when before I started studying for security, when I was in my school, I was always fond of downloading free Microsoft Office, and one day, without telling my father, I downloaded the free Microsoft Office version. I activated it. I was very sharp in computers and accessing all those data from the web. I extracted the passwords. I downloaded it. I was in 9th or 10th, I guess. I don't remember exactly. It's been almost 8 to 9 years. So, and the moment I installed it, and it was working perfectly fine. It activated Windows, the latest version of Microsoft Office, and my mom, my parents, everyone were happy that I had done such a great task. And all my dad's work was on that PC. In that PC, all the softwares, all his photos, all our family photos, all of what documents, everything. And after 15 days, exactly 15 days, the Microsoft Office started giving an error. Activate, otherwise you won't be able to access any of the Microsoft files. So, and I thought it was just an error, so I just shut down the Windows and I restarted it for 10 to 15 times, but that error still persisted. And after that, my dad wasn't able to access a single file from Microsoft Office. He tried downloading those files from one server to another PC, but to no avail, and unfortunately he lost his entire data. And I just cannot forget that incident. And from that incident, I've always learned to download files only from legitimate source. That is why I also tell my friends and my colleagues that please do not fall into the prey of free softwares. There is nothing like free Microsoft Word, because no one is able to actually download it. At some point of time or the other, the application reverts back. So again, make sure, learn from my lesson and learn from my experience that you should always download it from legitimate sources. Then moving ahead, you have to deploy firewalls and VPNs. Make sure you inspect the network packets using protocol monitoring tools, and then use antivirus tools such as McAfee and trusted third-party tools. And last is virus countermeasures. So the most common is install antivirus softwares and update it regularly. Generate antivirus policy for safe browsing and computing. Then schedule regular scans for all drives after installation of antivirus software. Regularly maintain data backup, which I had made a mistake. We didn't maintain any backup. Then stay informed about the latest virus threats. Keep reading different blogs, security websites to get used to latest trends in technologies. Then run disk cleanup and registry scanner once a week. Clean up the temporary files every day. Run antivirus, spyware or adware once a week. And do not accept disks or programs without checking them first with your softwares. So you should be able to tell your friends that please do not do this. And being a security student, you should be able to protect other students' data. Then let us have a quick recap. We discussed how to prevent cyber threats. We saw countermeasures for files worms. We also saw how I used to deal with free terms, and finally karma strike back and I lost all of my data. And then make sure you apply these countermeasures in your real life. In this video, we will talk about ransomwares. What is a ransomware? What is the meaning of ransomware? And we will discuss some types of ransomware attacks. Ransomware is a type of a malware from cryptovirology that threatens to publish the victim's data or block access to it unless a ransom is paid. Ransom is in the form of money. Then ransom malware or ransomware is a type of a malware that prevents users from accessing the system or personal files and demands a ransom payment in order to regain access. For example, if Bob's PC is infected with a ransom, Trudy will say, "Bob, please pay me around $10,000 and then only I'll give permission to access your computer and remove all the virus." That is a ransomware attack. More modern ransomware families, collectively categorized as crypto ransomware, encrypt certain file types on infected systems and forces users to pay the ransom through certain online payment methods to get a decrypt key. So there are a number of vectors ransomware can take to access a computer. One of the most common delivery systems is phishing spam. Attachments that come to the victim in an email masquerading as a file they should trust. Once they are downloaded and opened, they can take over the victim's computer, especially if they have a built-in social engineering toolkit. Then there are several things that malware might do once it's taken over the victim's computer, but by far the most common action is to encrypt some of all of the user's files. If you want the technical details, I will provide you a link of the InfoSec Institute, which they have explained in very deep how a ransomware attack works. In some forms of malware, the attacker might claim to be the law enforcement agency shutting down the victim's computer due to presence of pornography or pirated software on it, and demanding the payment of a fine, perhaps to make victims less likely to report the attack to authorities. But most attacks don't bother with this pretense. There is also a variation called leakware or doxware. I will attach the links, in which the attacker threatens to publicize sensitive data on the victim's hard drives unless a ransom is paid. So who is a target for a ransomware? There are several different ways attackers choose the organizations they target with ransomware. Sometimes it's a matter of opportunity. For instance, attackers might target universities because they tend to have smaller security teams and a disparate user base that does a lot of file sharing, making it easier to penetrate their defense. On the other hand, some organizations are tempting targets because they seem more likely to pay a ransom quickly. For instance, government agencies or medical facilities often need immediate access to the files. Law firms and other organizations with sensitive data may be willing to pay to keep news of a compromise quiet, and these organizations may be uniquely sensitive to leakware attacks. But don't feel like you are safe if you don't fit these categories. As we noted, some ransomware spreads automatically and indiscriminately across the internet. So how to prevent a ransomware attack? There are a number of defensive steps that you can take to prevent ransomware infection. These steps are of course a good security practice in general, so following them will surely increase your security defense. You have to keep your operating system patched and up to date, and to ensure you have fewer vulnerabilities to exploit. Do not install software or give it administrative privileges unless you know exactly what it is and where it is from and what it does. install legitimate antivirus software which detects malicious programs like ransomware as they arrive, and whitelisting softwares which prevents unauthorized applications from executing in the first place. Then install antivirus and firewalls from legitimate source. Do not fall to prey to fake antivirus or free softwares. And of course, backup your files frequently and automatically. That won't stop a malware attack, but it can make the damage caused by one much less than a significant. So you always have files even though your files are encrypted during a ransomware attack. So there are some ransomware facts and figures. See, ransomware is a big business. There is a lot of money in ransomware and the market expanded rapidly from the beginning of the decade. In 2017, ransomware resulted in $5 billion in losses, both in terms of ransoms paid and spending and the lost time in recovering the attacks. That's up to 15 times from 2015. In the first quarter of 2018, just one kind of ransomware software, SamSam, collected $1 million in ransom money. So some markets are particularly prone to ransomware and to paying the ransom. Many high-profile ransomware attacks have occurred in hospitals or other medical organizations, which make tempting targets. Attackers know that with lives literally in the balance, these enterprises are more likely to simply pay a relatively low ransom to make a problem go away. So Locky in 2016 is a famous example of ransomware attacks where the targeted a range of file types that are often used by designers, developers, engineers, and testers. So they had used the transmission from phishing, that is a form of social engineering. The most famous ransomware attack in the history of the computer security is the WannaCry, which happened in 2017. WannaCry was basically designed to exploit a vulnerability in Windows. It was allegedly created by the United States National Security Agency and leaked by the Shadow Brokers Group. So WannaCry affected nearly 230,000 computers globally. I mean, 2 million, it's a huge number. The attack hit a third of hospitals trust in the UK, consisting the total of estimated 92 million pounds. So that's a huge figure when it comes to paying a ransom. The global financial impact of WannaCry was substantial. The cybercrime caused an estimated $4 billion in financial losses. So you see why we were telling to choose cybersecurity as a career is you get the privilege, you get satisfaction when you work in a defense team, when you work for preventing other resources, and then you prevent such financial losses. And that is why see now this is the era of cyber warfare. It is earlier in 40 to 80 years earlier it was an era of wars, actual wars using guns and machines and using tanks. But in this age, it's all about cyber crimes. It's all about financial losses. It's all about stealing information, and that is why the demand for cybersecurity market is increasing day by day. Ryuk in 2018 was a ransomware which spread in August 2018, which disabled the Windows system's restore option, making it impossible to restore an encrypted file without a backup. This is quite funny because unless and until you have a backup to your system, it's all gone, whether you pay ransom or not. So that was deadly. The effects were crippling, and many organizations targeted in the US paid the demanded ransoms. So it was around $640,000, which is a very huge number. One more thing that you need to keep in mind before knowing what is ransomware, that your anti-malware software won't necessarily protect you. See, ransomware is constantly being written and tweaked by developers, and so its signatures are not often caught by typical antivirus programs. Signature is basically hash of the antivirus software. So if you change the code in the antivirus software, the hash will also change. So the antivirus won't be able to detect the malware. So ransomware isn't as prevalent as it used to be. If you want a bit of good news, it is this. The number of ransomware attacks after exploding the mid hundreds has gone into decline, though the initial numbers were high enough that it's still. But in the first quarter of 2017, ransomware attacks made up to 60% of malware payloads. Now it's down to 5%. So there's a significant decline in those attacks. So the main question is, should you pay ransom? So if your system has been infected with malware and you've lost vital data that you can restore from backup, should you pay the ransom? Well, it depends upon your organization. If your files are very important and you need them as soon as possible, you need to pay the ransom. But again, it can also be avoided. In the next lecture, we will see what is the cyber kill chain and what are the phases of cyber kill chain. So, in this lecture, we are going to talk about Shodan search engine, which is basically a search engine where you can find information about devices that are connected to the internet. For example, IoT devices. So cameras, CCTVs, refrigerators, Wi-Fi, everything which is connected to internet, you can find that. So it is a good search engine for those who want to retrieve powerful information. So without wasting any time, let us directly jump to Shodan. So open your normal search engine and just type the Shodan search engine. Yes. So the first site, shodan.io, we have to click there, and after clicking on Shodan, you can see the picture that you are currently seeing right now. So this is the home page of Shodan. You can just see if you have to explore the Internet of Things. Basically, then you can monitor network security. It's basically a website wherein you can find information about different devices. So let's get basically started now. Before moving in directly searching in Shodan, you first have to create your account in order to get more deeper search. Since I already created my account, I will just simply log in. So you can either log in Google, Twitter, Windows, or Facebook. I'll log in with my Google account. Yes, so you can see now it's my account, and yes, that's it. So now let us see what you can find. So first I'll find let's say CCTV. So if I do CCTV search, well, I can find the CCTVs from all over the world which are directly connected to the internet. So if we explore, let us say I want to explore the CCTV of let's go down. Yes, this one, 185.173.96.3. It belongs to France, Linus something, and server name is CCTP. Its MAC is 0.0.0. Its IP address is 185.173.96. So I'll click here and open link in a new tab. So as you can see, I can see the entire information here. You can also see the map where it is located. So these are the ports which are functioning on that. It's providing Jing service, then NTP protocol version 3. Then its refit time is 138.00. Then it's using NetBIOS system and additional interfaces. So it has SSL certificate, which means secure socket layer certificate, and it's this is the 248-bit public key. As you can see, this is the public key. It is using RSA encryption, which is quite strong encryption, and this is SHA-256 algorithm with encryption, which means the CCTV camera is completely encrypted. It is also using Samba version 4.4.16. Then it is using 50CP port 554. Then again Nginx version, and you go if it's keep alive, timeout is 20 seconds, connection is keep alive, SSL certificate again, exponent RSA, etc. So this is a lot of information for this camera. Now if we go and if we just copy paste IP, this IP address, I'll type this in, I just copy paste in another browser and boom, just enter. Let us see what it actually returns back. Yes, so you can see it returned the CCTV. It's kind of returning the connection. It's trying to connect to that CCTV. Yes, so again you can see this CCTV is SSL protected. So now once you have the signing page, you can apply a brute force attack in order to crack the password. If you try admin password and admin password, Let us see if it works. I don't think it will work because since it is protected with SSH algorithm. Yes, the account is invalid. So either you can try database management. Since you can see the account or password is invalid, it is not specifically telling what is wrong, so it has a good layer of security. So after knowing the services, after knowing what it is using, you can apply that exploits. But again, this comes as a part of ethical hacking, so you don't need to actually go deep into that. So let's try another search. Yes, so let us go back and try something different. Now I'll search for Wi-Fi, and I'll apply country. Since I'm living in India, I'll apply or let's say a paraphrase. So I'll try country semicolon and IN, which stands for India. I'll search. Oh my god, so I am getting a number of results. So you can see Shodan has specifically limited its search only to the Indian region. So now let us see what we can find from this. So we'll explore this one. SSL again. See, this is certified. It is protected. This one also Wi-Fi security server. Let's go into next pages so you can see different anything tricky if we can find out. Okay, so I'll go this. If you click on the arrow here, you directly the browser directly tries to connect to that Wi-Fi engine. Whereas if you click on the IP address, we go into the details. So you can see this Wi-Fi is located in Jalandhar area, BSNL, and it's last updated 10th May. That is the day before. Yeah. So this site can't be reached. So that's it. I mean, this is only information we are getting. We're not getting anything else. So let us try another. And let's explore something else on Shodan. So these are the top search. See webcam, and then cams admin. Okay, so let's see what we can get. Admin. It is concentrating on everything around the world. So if you see, connection is now closed. It's closed. So if we try to connect to one of, let's see, it's again password protected. If we try admin for once again, I don't think it will show. Yes, authentication error. So either you can exploit this. Let us try a cross-site script attack to check whether it exists or not, whether it's taking script in it. Again, it says authentication error. So that's it. So one thing that many people use Shodan is the reason is Shodan really gives a lot of engines. So if we let's see on databases, so you can see all the databases are available in here. If we go to MongoDB or MySQL, for example, see these are all the databases hosted. These are the IP addresses of the databases. So basically hackers use Shodan for effective information gathering, and it is a good tool. Now it actually depends upon your logic. How do you search it? Which phrases, which words do you use in the search engine to actually find out? So right now this is the phrase product MySQL. So that is why I think Shodan is more important. So in the next lecture we will talk about some different things related to our course. Stay tuned. In this video, we will learn about the cyber kill chain. So the cyber kill chain is a series of steps that trace stages of a cyber attack from the early reconnaissance stages to the exfiltration of data. The kill chain helps us to understand and combat ransomware, security breaches, and advanced persistent attacks. Lockheed Martin derived the kill chain framework from a military model originally established to identify, prepare to attack, engage, and destroy the target. So as you can see, these are the 7 phases of a cyber kill chain model. We are going to see each phase in detail. The first step is reconnaissance, harvesting email addresses, conference information, etc. Note that we are going to see this chain from a point of perspective of an attacker. So the first step of any APT attack is to select a target. Depending upon the motives of the APT actor, the victim could be any company or person with information the attacker sees as a valuable one. Attackers fingerprint the target to create a blueprint of IT systems, organizational structure, relationships or affiliations, and search for vulnerabilities. So as large organizations tend to invest in multiple layers of security, this step could take weeks, even months. However, the more knowledge actor requires on its target, the higher the success rate of breaching the network. The next step is weaponization, which means attackers will re-engineer some core malware to suit their purposes using sophisticated techniques. Depending on the needs and abilities of the attacker, the malware may exploit previously unknown vulnerabilities, aka zero-day exploits, or some combination of those to quietly defeat a network's defenses. By re-engineering the malware, attackers reduce the likelihood of detection by traditional security solutions. This process often involves embedding specially crafted malware into an otherwise benign or legitimate document, such as a press release or a contract document, or hosting the malware as a compromised domain. The third and the most important step is delivery. The three most prevalent delivery vectors for weaponized payloads by APT actors, as observed by the US ProTech Computer Incident Response Team for the years 2005-2015, are email attachments, websites, and removable media such as a USB stick. The transmission and delivery of weaponized bundles to the victim's targeted environment is the objective, but these efforts arrive with some digital fingerprinting. This stage represents the first and the most important opportunity for defenders to block an operation. However, doing so defeats certain key capabilities and other highly prized data. At this stage, we measure the effectiveness of the fractional intrusion attempts that are blocked at the delivery point. The fourth step is the exploitation of the target. At this stage, exploiting a vulnerability to execute code on the victim system's command channel for remote manipulation of victims is the main objective. Here, traditional hardening measures and resiliency but custom defense capabilities are necessary to stop zero-day exploits at this stage. After the weapon is delivered to victim host, exploitation triggers intruder's code. Most often, exploitation targets an application or operating system vulnerability, but it could also more simply exploit the user themselves or leverage an operating system feature. In recent years, this has become an area of expertise in the hacking community, which is often demonstrated at events such as Black Hat, DEF CON, and the like. Step 5 is the installation. At this stage, the installation of a remote access trojan, that is RAT, or backdoor on the victim system allows the attacker to maintain persistence inside the environment. Installing malware on the asset requires end user participation by unknowingly enabling the malicious code. So talking about action at this point can be considered critical. One method to effect this would be to deploy a host-based intrusion prevention system to alert or block uncommon installation paths. Now, defenders must understand endpoint process auditing to discover abnormal file creations. They need to be able to compile time of malware to determine if it is new or old. Does it use autorun key, etc. are the main features defenders should ask. Does the backdoor need to run provide access? Can you identify any certificates, etc. are the few questions defender need to ask themselves in order to protect the system. The second last step is command and control. This stage is the defender's last best chance to block the operation. By blocking the command and control channel, if attackers can't issue commands, defenders can prevent impact. Typically, compromised hosts must beacon outbound to an internet controller server to establish a command and control, that is C2 channel. APT malware especially requires manual interaction rather than conduct activity automatically. Once the C2 channel establishes, intruders inside the target environment get access to the environment. Let's remember that seldom is malware automated, normally this command channel is manual. The general practice of intruders is email in, web out. That is, they get through email and get out through websites. The trick for them is to have established the control over many workstations in an effort to exfiltrate data without setting off any anomalies. Hence, the reason it is essential to have the proper tools in place that can identify, track, observe, stop, and destroy these campaigns with your capabilities. And the last step is action and objectives. The longer an attacker has this level of access, the greater the impact. Defenders must detect this stage as quickly as possible and deploy tools which will enable them to collect forensic evidence. One example would include a network packet capturer for a damage assessment. Only now, after progressing through the first 6 phases, can intruders take actions to achieve their original objectives. Typically, the objective of data exfiltration involves collecting, encrypting, and extracting information from the victim's environment. Alternatively, the most commonly intruder may only desire to access to the initial victim box for use as a hop point to compromise additional systems and move laterally inside the network. At a minimum, the plan should include a comprehensive communication plan. Detailed evidence must be elevated to the highest ranking official or governing board, the deployment of the endpoint security tools to block data loss, and preparing for a briefing SIRT team. Having these resources well established in advance is a must in today's quickly evolving landscape of security threats. So we have seen what is the cyber kill chain. We have explored each and every phase in detail. If you are not clear, you can always post your questions. We will surely try to answer each and every question within 24 hours of time. And you can please provide your feedback through the reviews. We can actually get an idea whether you are coping up with the syllabus that we are teaching. Your feedback is our valuable input. We really respect that. We have also attached feedback forms at the end of each module. So if you have any grievances or if you are really learning anything, please let us know.
Let us start with social engineering. In this video, I am going to give you introduction about social engineering, and also I am going to explain you the social engineering cycle along with some real life examples. So what is social engineering? Social engineering is simply the art of manipulating users of a computer system into revealing vital or confidential information that can be used to gain unauthorized access to a computer system into a secure network. The term can also include other exploitation activities such as exploiting human kindness, greed, and curiosity to gain access to restricted buildings or getting the users to installing backdoor software into a secure network. Social engineering is one of the most dangerous and inhuman acts among humanity since its birth and became more dangerous in nowadays world with the speed and irresponsible use of the information technology. Social engineers use a wide variety of tactics to perform attacks. The first step in most social engineering attacks is for the attacker to perform research and reconnaissance on the target. If the target is an enterprise, for instance, the hacker may gather intelligence on employee structure, internal operations, common lingo used within the industry, and possible business partners among other information. One common tactic of social engineers is to focus on the behaviors and patterns of employees. Hackers can scan the person's social media profiles for information and study their behavior online and in person. From there, the hacker can design an attack based on information collected and exploit the weakness uncovered during the information gathering phase. If the attack is successful, hackers have access to sensitive data such as credit card or banking information, have made money off the targets, or have gained access to protected systems or networks. The best defense against attackers using social engineering scams is and will be always awareness. Some examples of social engineering can be like someone calling from the bank telling you that you need to change your bank account details because of a hack or security reason and ask you for your personal details. In this scenario, the person frightens you by telling you about hacking or security reason, which makes you threatened or scared and uses these emotional tactics to hack you. Even your trash can give more information about you, like your email ID from Amazon delivery box, torn bank statements, your old gadget components, which includes memory devices like printers and many other things. Even simply filling a feedback form for some places, because no one keeps the feedback from notebook or leaflet securely, which can contain your mobile number, email ID, or even your home address. The most widespread example of social engineering attack is phishing. Wikipedia defines phishing, the attempt to obtain sensitive information such as usernames, passwords, and credit card details directly or indirectly, often used for malicious reasons or by disguising as a trustworthy entity in an electronic communication. Consider a scenario of phishing email. Here, an employee from your organization is sending you an email saying that the cupcake stop truck will be in front of office this afternoon. But can you imagine why would an employee in your office tell you about the cupcake stop truck? Rather, if he wants to tell you, he will just come to you and tell you that the cupcake truck is coming, we will head to truck and buy some cupcakes. So, here that employee in your organization is nothing but the hacker. And if you click on that link, all your details will be fetched by the hacker. Let's consider another scenario. Here, you have received an email from your university saying that this email is meant to inform you that your My University network password will expire in 24 hours. But the common thing is that your password never expires. So, therefore, this email is sent to you by an hacker. Therefore, if you click on that link, your username and your password will be fetched by the hacker. In the next lecture, we will study different types of social engineering. In the last lecture, we saw how social engineering is the art of convincing people to reveal confidential information. In this lecture, we are going to see three main types of social engineering that we should be aware of. So, there are three types of social engineering: human-based, computer-based, and mobile-based. Starting with the human-based social engineering, also called as impersonation. It is the most common technique where the attacker pretends to be someone legitimate or an authorized person. Attackers may impersonate a legitimate or authorized person either personally or using a communication medium such as phone or email. Impersonation helps attackers in tricking a target to reveal sensitive information. Vishing or voice over IP is an impersonation technique, or also called as electronic fraud, in which the attacker tricks individuals to reveal personal and financial information using voice technology such as telephone system, or also simply calling the targets. There are three main types of human-based social engineering: eavesdropping, shoulder surfing, and dumpster diving. Eavesdropping is interception of audio, video, or written communication. It can be done using communication channels such as telephone lines, emails, or even instant messaging. Shoulder surfing uses direct observation techniques such as looking over someone's shoulder to get information such as password, PIN, account numbers. Shoulder surfing can also be done from a longer distance with the aid of vision enhancing devices such as binoculars that are equipped with capability of obtaining long distance information. Dumpster diving is looking for treasure in someone else's trash. It involves collection of phone bills, contact information, financial information, operations related information, and many other. Computer-based social engineering is information which is carried out with the help of computers. Pop-up windows. These are windows that suddenly pop up while surfing the internet and ask for users' information to log in or sign up. You might have encountered pop-up windows. Hoax letters. Hoax letters are emails that issue warnings to the user on new viruses, trojans, worms that may harm user system. Chain letters. Chain letters are emails that offer free gifts such as money and software on the condition that the user has to forward the mail to said number of persons. Instant chat messenger. It is gathering personal information by chatting with a selected online user to get information such as birth dates and maiden names. Spam emails. Irrelevant, unwanted, and unsolicited email to collect the financial information, social security numbers, and network information are some types of fraud emails. Phishing is a practice of sending an illegitimate email falsely claiming to be a form of legitimate site in an attempt to acquire users' personal or account information. Phishing emails or pop-ups redirect users to fake web pages of mimicking trustworthy sites that ask them to submit their personal information. In mobile-based social engineering, information is obtained with the help of mobile apps. Attackers create malicious apps with attractive features and similar names to that of popular apps and publish them on major app stores. Unaware, the users download these apps and get infected by the malware that sends credentials to the attackers. This is how mobile-based social engineering takes place. In first, attacker infects the victim's PC. Next, attacker uploads a malicious application to an app store. The victim logs onto his or her bank account. Malware in the system displays a pop-up message telling the victim to download an application onto his or phone to receive security messages. Victim downloads the malicious application on his or her phone. At this point, the attacker can access second authentication factor sent to victim from the bank via SMS, and all your money in the account is hence stolen by the attacker. Let us discuss countermeasures to avoid social engineering attacks. Good policies and procedures are ineffective if they are not taught and reinforced by the employees. After receiving training, employees should sign a statement acknowledging that they have understood the policies. The main objectives of social engineering defense strategies are to create user awareness, robust internal networks, and secure policies, plans, and processes. Therefore, the company should train individuals on security policies, should generate awareness about such attacks, restrict access of outsiders in authorized area, prepare a proper incident response team, scrutinize information, implement two-way factor authentication, archive critical data, perform regular risk assessments, and verify background of the employees. What's next? We will have a practical on social engineering.
Okay, so in this practical, we are going to talk about social engineering attacks. As we have seen in the last modules, what is social engineering and how it can be used to gain passwords and access to your systems. In this practical, we will see how phishing attacks are carried out. So as you can see on the screen, let me log into my Kali machine. So for social engineering attack, we are going to use social engineering toolkit, which is a ready-made toolkit available on Kali Linux. This practical is just for demonstration purpose. So if you want to actually practice, you have to install Kali virtual machine. So you can see I've logged in, and this is the interface of the latest Kali 2019. So now we'll go into the menu and we'll first go to terminal. To fight, why we are going to terminal? Because to carry out, just since this phishing attacks, we need to first know the IP address of my machine, and I'll tell you why do we need that. So to find IP address, we'll type ifconfig ipconfig. Yes. So you can see this is the IP address of my virtual machine, 10.0.2.50. So now, keeping this in mind, we'll close this terminal and we'll go to social engineering. See, these are all the tools available for attacks in Kali. You can see for post exploitation, these are the tools. For sniffing and spoofing, that means passive attacks, these tools are used. So then web application analysis, burp suite, skipfish, SQL map, WordPress scan, etc. And these are the tools for forensics, for forensic and crime investigation. So now let us go into social engineering. Yes, these are the three in social engineering attacks: Maltego, MSF payload creator, and social engineering toolkit. We will use SET. So uh, yes. So I'll tell you from the beginning. Yes, let me clear the terminal and done. Okay. So now I've cleared the terminal and I need to again start with social engineering toolkit. Yes, so you can see this is the interface. So we will be carrying out phishing attacks. For phishing attack, we need to clone a website. Now, what is cloning of website? Cloning is the process of having the same content as on the website, but the data that you submit through a cloned website gets submitted directly to the attacker instead of the legitimate database. So let us so from, as you can see the menu here, we are going to select third social engineering attack. So I'll press 1, enter. Then these are the 10 types of modules which are available, but we'll go for website attack vectors since we are using phishing website. And now in this, since we are going to use phishing website to gain credentials of a user, we will go for credential harvester attack method. So basically it harvests the credentials of the user. Now you can see we will use web templates, site cloner, or custom import. Web templates is a templates which are already available in the toolkit, but we will use a site cloner so that we can clone a legitimate site so that the user or the adverse person who is going to access the website find it a legitimate website. So let us press 2. So now this tool is asking for my IP address. So why it is asking for my IP address? Because whenever a user will enter the credentials, these credentials will be transferred to my IP address. Because since I'm storing the credentials of the user in an illegal way, I need to tell the IP address of the destination. So as we have seen, the IP address of my destination is 10.0.2.15. Yes. So now I'll press enter. Now it is asking the URL of the site to clone. So we can either use facebook.com or gmail.com or any other login websites, amazon.com or anything. So I'll use https facebook.com for login and I'll press enter. So now this is cloning the website and this could take a little bit. So meanwhile, now yes, so you may need to copy. Yes, so now what it's showing, it will give us the information. So see, the social engineering toolkit credential harvester attack, credential harvester is running on port 80, which means we have successfully created the attack, and information will be displayed as it arrives below. Now it is saying that the information will be displayed to you as it arrives below, right? So now what I will do, I will log into my Gmail account using Firefox or any other web browser which you already have, but I generally prefer Firefox. So now I will log into my Gmail account and send the fake phishing website to myself only. So yes, so I'll just show you an example. Yes, so now you can see I'm going to log into gmail.com. So now you can see that I have logged into my Gmail account, and what I will do is I will create a mail and I will mail the link to myself. So I will show you how generally such phishing websites are sent over the internet. So just wait a minute till the drive box is getting loaded. Yes, so now I mail the information to myself. Subject SET toolkit. And yes, here you can see I will be attaching an email. So insert link, text to display. So now what text to display? So if you are intelligent enough, you can directly go to facebook.com and you can see this URL, copy this URL, come here, paste it, and to what URL this link should go to. Now here you have to enter the IP address of a machine. So my machine's IP address is 10.0.2.15. okay, and okay, so you can see now I have the link. I'll send the email, and see I have received the email, and when I click this email I go to this website. Now all these characters are rubbish characters. I don't know why it has appeared. It may be a fault of the cloning website, but if you take ready-made templates, or if you properly clone a legitimate website, you may get proper details. So now if I enter here my name and some password, let's say AAAA for 5 times A, and click submit, you go to the legitimate login page, right? So, and if I come to my terminal, you can see what it has shown: a possible username field found. Okay, so whenever whenever user tries to attempt to log in, target machine gets a notification. So you can see directory traversal attack detected from. Okay, so if you come down, so you have to have knowledge to examine all these fields. So if you just come down, I'll just show you. See, password pre-filled false, email Chinmay, because I had entered Chinmay in that Facebook account. Since my login was incorrect, since I had entered the wrong wrong password, the password field was false. If I had entered a legitimate password, then it would directly take me to facebook.com, but my credentials would get displayed here. So the attack, in this way you can carry out a phishing attack. So I just wanted to tell you that attackers who are very expert and who are very keen to get credentials modify websites in such a way that a legitimate user cannot even determine the difference between a website and a phishing website. So that is why social engineering attacks are very careful, and you should never enter your passwords through such links. You have to first scan the links through firewall scanners or antivirus scanners to look if there is a phishing website. Normally, if you try to open this in a firewall protected web servers or web browsers, these links are automatically blocked. So but there are also techniques in which you can bypass these links. You can hide those links behind an image, that is steganography, and then perform attacks. So it completely depends upon you whether what you want to do. So basically this is one of the most dangerous attacks. So that is why cybersecurity awareness is very important. So if you have any more doubts, you are free to ask in the question and answer section. Finally, you have completed section 5. I mean, you have almost completed 80% of our course, and I'm very happy that you have reached till here. I would like you to please leave us a rating and please share your experience through our feedback quizzes. And also there is a review tab on the upper right corner, so you can leave a rating there, which will help us to design the course and to make any changes if you want. Please feel free to give us a rating and share your experience. If you have loved our course, please feel free to tell